So, new board from Duotone. This is the Skybrid, and I'm really fortunate to be joined by Nick Baker from K66, our Duotone rep here in the UK. Nick, thanks for coming down and joining us today here.
Thanks, Tony. It's always a pleasure.
Well, it is, isn't it? Especially on a day like this, down at our Cowshot shop and test centre.
Yep.
We're just here on the water's edge at the flat water lagoon that we've got here, which is perfect for anyone coming down to us really to test wings and foils, and it's all just a perfect, products. Yeah, all of them. And we've got all of them in the test centre, which works brilliantly, including the new Skybrid.
Yes.
I didn't know I needed a Skybrid until it came out.
We didn't know a little while ago, funny enough.
But it's kind of come out and it's filled this massive gap in the middle of the range of the superb downwind boards that we've got now in inflatable and also in the SLS construction, and then really the evergreen, ever popular Sky Free, Sky Style boards. And this is a mid-size board in the 5 different sizes that there are. Why have Duotone seen fit to kind of fill that gap?
Basically stemmed from, obviously this year, the last sort of 12, 18 months, the new Downwinder craze that's really kicked off all over the world. Surprisingly, if you're honest, I was sort of surprised at how so many end consumers really brought into it.
Yeah.
We did lots of demos over the season, last sort of 12 months, and we had, unfortunately, quite a lot of demos with only 5 to 7 knots maybe. And in the old days, we'd just be doing paddleboarding or other sports. Now we do pump foiling and things, but with our Ventis and a downwinder and a reasonable sized front wing, you're out there and you are flying around.
Well, we've had that here, haven't we?
Absolutely.
A Duotone demo that we had with
But they were pump foil on the inside, winging on the downwinder on the outside, and sort of mixing, which normally wouldn't happen. So that's where it stemmed from. Obviously, then the guys have gone, hang on, we really like that because it gets going so easy. The moment you stood up, pull backhand in on that wing, the ball's moving, which then means obviously the foil's got water flow, and then means it wants to lift and launch. And it's a nice lift and launch. It's not so abrupt that the shorter sort of rock and line boards seem to create, if you like. So it's really smooth to rise. You're stood in the middle of the board. You know, when you climb onto the board, you climb into the centre line because it's narrower. You've got that longer waterline length. You're stood effectively, I think it's around about 6 or 7 centimetres further forward the noses from the front foot strap compared to equivalent volume style. So not too much. A majority of the board is hanging out the back, which you don't notice, because obviously the foil is moved forward as well. So you don't really notice any major swing rates or anything, which you do on a downwinder, because they are that much longer, of course. And in reality, the downwind boards are really good just for the real light wind stuff. As soon as it gets windy, they're fragile. They're made to be super light. They're made to paddle up, ultimately. Obviously, the inflatable one we have is a different story, so you can fall on it, and they're actually really good price, and they're great for the wing guys. But a lot of people realise that, one, they like that early planing, that real efficient getting going feeling. They can ride smaller foils, smaller wings, but actually they want foot straps, they want to use it in different conditions.
But so in terms of the smaller sizes, I know that for somebody using a downwinder and stuff, the concern is, yes, there are benefits to that extended waterline length in terms of that overall speed and that initial speed to get going and get flying. But even at 5'6", it's still a relatively compact package, quite narrow as well, but not too narrow, we found, in that there's still good levels of stability within the board.
There's great levels of stability, and this is sort of surprising. If you look at the way ours are set up, they're fairly sort of rectangular in a way, so they're reasonably squarish at the nose, they're reasonably square at the tail. You've got a nice wide tail, and that gives you that really good stability for one, climbing on. Also, by having a reasonably wide tail, allows it, you know, rather than a really narrow tail like our downwinders have, allows you to get going really early. Because they're obviously a bit shorter than the actual downwinders. But we've got the cutouts in the tail.
I was about to say, the underside of the board with the cutout, that's just really promoting a much earlier release.
Well, you've got the width to give you that sort of initial, rather than the tail sinking, so the board's riding flat and it gets the water, you know, running over the foil and the board gliding over the water much earlier. But the moment it's going, starting to pick up any speed, you want effectively the less drag of a narrow tail. And with the cutouts, that gives you that. So you've got the best of both worlds.
The one thing that did kind of catch me off guard was the price point. And that, in no doubt, is down to the pure construction in the board. It is carrying the SLS branding, which shows really that it is at the very performance end of what Duotone produced. That's how everything's branded. Talk us through the construction, because it is a PVC carbon construction.
Full PVC carbon construction, basically built like our Sky Style SLS. So, got foot straps on it, you can jump it, you can ride it hard. It is at that upper price point, you know, starting at $17.99, which for something that is a bit long, it does generally cost more money. We were quite surprised that the price stayed at the same price that the current Sky Styles are, SLSs are. But the thing is, I think given bulletproof, but it's strong. I mean, they are built strong.
Yeah, and I think given the price point, but given the breadth of use that this covers, you could almost, I might sound a little bit salesman-y here, but you could almost justify that this is going to cover 2 boards worth of use.
Pretty much.
In just the one board size that you're going to go for, because it covers such a broad range of use. On the board itself, performance-wise, also within the construction, it's running at the extended carbon tracks, which we've had a lot of inquiry about, because as amazing as the Duotone foil setup has now grown to be, you know, it's we do get the odd question from some other brands that do, as a foil setup, work better when they're advanced further forward in the board mast track.
All the guys that are really high speed stuff. Obviously, Rich Hobson, you know, one of our team rider guys who's British speed champion. He's on these boards. Obviously, because of the waterline length, allows him to get on a really small foil much earlier. But being narrow when they're tilted right over, the rails don't touch the water. Which is obviously a great thing for him. And these guys are loving that stuff. And obviously, with that extra strength, they're crashing pretty hard. They're getting they're to the point where they don't even wear leashes because they don't want to be too near their products. But yeah, these guys are ripping it up from speed, free ride, light wind, waves, basically an all-round do it all.
And I think the one thing that I haven't tried it with as yet is our four-wheel drive. So we've got four-wheel drive here in demo. I know you have a four-wheel drive as well. And I think for me also, this is nigh on a perfect board with a four-wheel drive because of that additional waterline length. You know,
absolutely. The only thing, obviously, it's got the full carbon tracks and it's a full carbon sandwich board. So you, depending, I haven't tried it with a full drive myself. But you've got the
external antenna,
which of course will cover all that. We do have another product coming, which obviously will be another great full drive product. So yeah, I think it will. Narrow, long, once you're up riding, one with a full drive, you want to be on quite a small foil, because especially if you're riding waves. So you want something that's really manoeuvrable, but you want to be on quite a small board so that when you are manoeuvring, you haven't got a great big ball swinging around. Quite a tricky sort of formula to get right. So by having these slightly longer, narrower boards, you know, it enables you to get going, like we were talking about with that light wind wing-in. Obviously, with the motor underneath pushing you along, you can get going with a reasonably small front foil. And once you're up, because you're stood in the middle of the board, rather than if you look at, say, a Sky Style, you're stood back here, you don't have all that swing rate that the length suggests. So once you are up and riding the waves, then suddenly you feel like you're on a smaller Sky Style board, but you're able to get going really early.
And it is because of those extended tracks and where they are set in the underside of the board.
Tracks, foot strap, the way the whole board set up is more towards the middle of the board rather than towards the tail of the board that the Styles and Freeze actually are set up as.
No, it's fantastic. Well, we're thrilled to bits with it, and I'm sure that, well, I know for a fact that everyone that's come through the test centre so far and tried the Skybrid is just like, didn't expect that.
No, well, we obviously will go to a pretty extensive demo sort of season coming September, October. We've got all sizes on demo. You're the same, you have all the sizes here. Definitely worth, if you're not sure what size, because obviously some people go, well, maybe I can go slightly smaller, or do I want to go quite a little bit bigger, which means I covers my light wind and it still feels small for when it is windy. So come along, come down to the test centre, come to a demo, give it a go. Certainly worth having a jump on. Absolutely. I mean, we were blown away when we got it. We weren't sure, but once we got into it, and I think for me, what's so special about it is that our guys that are good, you see our team riders in Maui and all over the place, ride it actually with no foot straps often. They really like that feeling. They're riding it in waves, doing all the sort of manoeuvres that a lot of people aspire to, of course, that we'll never get to. But then we had the 510 100 litre on demo for a while, the sample version, which was actually sort of 1.5 kilos heavier than the production board. And people were trying it and they were queuing to try it, if you remember. Literally, they were loving this product. And we were all smiling from ear to ear to the point where they were fighting. Literally, we only had one of them. So they were like trying other products, waiting to get out on the Skybrid because they realised that this is their new product and it is really user-friendly, really end consumer friendly, and not just entry level or intermediate, but pretty much all ends of the scale, if like, and everything in between. So, yeah, the guys have done a good job. You have to.
They've done a great job. It's a credit to Duotone.
The Spencer brothers, they've come on board with this, as you know, incredible athletes. You know, places that we'll never go to.
Yeah.
But what they do with the end consumer products, it's a tricky thing. Is one thing being a really good athlete, another thing being able to develop a product for the real world end consumers.
Yeah, and it can fit in the hands of most people.
Absolutely.
And still perform.
Yes.
And that is, I think, really the big takeaway from this is that the performance of this board is so accessible that you have to come and try it.
Yeah.
So there you have it. Duotone Skybrid SLS. It's here at our CalShot Shop and Test Centre. Come on down, book yourself a demo and find out exactly what all the fuss is about. Nick, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching our video. If you've got any questions about what you've seen, why not give us a call in the shop or head over to thesupco.com. To stay up to date though with all of our videos, well, make sure you subscribe up here and hit the notification bell. But to see our next video, well, take a look up here.